Manchester United players demand answers on Erik ten Hag's future. Will United go for Fofana and Zirkzee in the summer transfer window? And INEOS manager bombshell. These are some of the stories we're going to be discussing on this evening's live show. But before we get into that, please do me one small favour. Smash a like on today's video. Let's try and see 200 likes on today's show. And make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. We'll be live throughout the whole of the transfer window, 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. UK time. And if there's ever any breaking news in the day, I'll go live as well. So make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. Right, let's start the show off with some positivity then. And we have got some injury news for you. Erik ten Hag spoke to the press earlier on today ahead of Manchester United's trip to Brighton on Sunday. Obviously, there's only 2 games left of the season now. You've got Brighton on Sunday, and then you've got Man City in the FA Cup next Saturday. And he has confirmed that apparently Lindelof and Raphael Varane are back in training, and Erik ten Hag will make a decision on Saturday as to whether they are available to play against Brighton. I mean, that's really, really positive, isn't it? Because at the moment, obviously, we've got Casemiro and Johnny Evans as our centre-back partnership, which, let's be honest, has not been particularly good. Johnny Evans, at the age of 36, I think has tried his best. I think he's done more than what any of us would ever have dreamed of, to be honest. But it's still not that good, is it? Let's be honest. I don't want to be harsh to Evans because I think he has done well. I think he's overachieved, but still, like, you know where I'm going. So to have Lindelof and Varane back as well as Martinez, that's a massive boost. We've gone from having one fit centre back in Johnny Evans to potentially having Martinez, Lindelof, Varane and Johnny Evans all available for that final. Really, really happy about that. Maguire apparently should be available for the final as well, but there is a little bit of a setback for Luke Shaw, and apparently Luke Shaw doesn't look like he will be available for the FA Cup final. But being completely honest, like, Luke Shaw's been missing for so long now. Do we really think that he's going to be match fit within a week if he's not match fit now? I'm not convinced by that personally. So I think it's best we just kind of focus on what we have, as in Wan-Bissaka at right back, Dalot at left back, and then you maybe go for Varane and Martinez as your centre-back partnership. Like, that's the best that we can do in this moment in time. And obviously it's a massive positive that we won't have to play that FA Cup final with Casemiro as the centre-back. What does that mean for Amrabat though? Because effectively Amrabat is playing in Casemiro's position. I personally would have Amrabat and Mainu as the 2 midfielders, with kind of Bruno in the more centre attacking role. But it'll be interesting to see what Erik ten Hag does, because I think it will be pretty unfair on Amrabat if he is now dropped and Casemiro takes his place, because Amrabat's been good the last couple of games, and you never know, that might be the potion we need to win that final. But let me know what you guys think. I'm happy about this. I think obviously Varane, imagine how poetic that would be, right? Varane's last game for Man United and we win the FA Cup. That would be so good. But we'll have to wait and see. It's still going to be a very difficult ask. Keeping on the topic of injury news, this isn't obviously related to Man United, but I mean, it is actually. Apparently Ederson, the Man City goalkeeper, will be missing from the FA Cup final. I think he's done something to his eye socket or something. So obviously I hope he gets better soon. You don't wish harm on anyone, but from a footballing perspective, obviously him not being available for the FA Cup final is a massive boost for us. Although arguably Man City's backup goalkeeper is good as well. So it's not like they've got some absolutely terrible goalkeeper who's going to have to play. Ortega is still a very good goalkeeper, but not as good as Ederson. So we've talked about Luke Shaw, we've talked about Maguire. Let's talk a little bit about Ten Hag then. So David Ornstein, who is a very reliable journalist for The Athletic, was talking earlier on today about the manager situation at Manchester United. And he has said the following. He says this. He says, as far as I know, if Manchester United were to make a change now, Gareth Southgate, Graham Potter and Thomas Tuchel wouldn't necessarily be at the top of Manchester United's wish list for the new manager. I mean, that's really, really interesting, isn't it? As I said, David Ornstein is probably one of the most reliable journalists in football, I would say. And he's effectively saying that based on the information he has, if Man United do sack Erik ten Hag, Southgate, Potter and Tuchel aren't going to be the top options. They're looking at other people. Now, could that be Ruben Amorim? Maybe. Could it be Kieran McKenna? Maybe. Could it be... who else even is there? I mean, we're starting to run out of options now, aren't we? The story also goes on to say, David Ornstein reports that apparently Man United are wanting to sign a young manager. And I kind of thought, like, a young manager, what exactly does that mean? Like, how young are we talking? Erik ten Hag is only 54, which to me is quite young. But obviously, Kieran McKenna's very young. Roberto De Zerbi is in his 40s. Like, maybe it's those three, you know? Ruben Amorim, Roberto De Zerbi, Kieran McKenna. I mean, looking at the bookies odds today, Kieran McKenna is currently the third favourite to become the new Man United manager. I mean, imagine if that did happen. I just think it's too soon for him personally. I think, you know, if Kieran McKenna comes to Ipswich, keeps them in the Premier League, maybe finishes mid-table, I think he would definitely have a shout at being the Man United manager in the future. But to throw Kieran McKenna in now, I think would be a little bit too premature. But let me know what you guys think. Just to summarise that section, David Ornstein, very reliable journalist, saying that Man United are looking at a young manager if they sack Erik ten Hag, and saying that apparently Gareth Southgate, Graham Potter and Thomas Tuchel are not top of the list. Obviously, all of those managers are 50 or above, which makes me think that a young manager could be Roberto De Zerbi, Ruben Amorim from Sporting Lisbon, or Kieran McKenna. Those are all kind of young managers who would fit the mould of what this story says. Out of those three, I don't know who I would go with. I don't really know that much about Ruben Amorim. Obviously, Liverpool were interested in him. West Ham were interested in him. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I don't know that much about Ruben Amorim. You know, I know Sporting Lisbon have done well. Kieran McKenna then goes on to say that as of now, there has been no conversations between Manchester United and Kieran McKenna. And they say that at present, the prospect is not expected to develop any further. So I don't think it'll be Kieran McKenna personally. I think it probably is between maybe like De Zerbi and maybe someone like Ruben Amorim, because the thing you have to remember is, right, De Zerbi obviously worked with Dan Ashworth at Brighton. They already have a relationship together. Maybe that's some sort of link. And we also know that apparently INEOS were trying to recruit De Zerbi at Nice a few years ago. So yeah, we'll wait and see what happens with that one. I don't think Erik ten Hag's going anywhere though. I would be very, very surprised if they remove him this season. I think it would be a very, very silly move, but we'll wait and see what happens. Right, moving on from that, let's move on to some transfer-related stories. Got a bit of an update on David Ornstein. We've got a bit of an update from David Ornstein on Michael Olise. And the headline this evening is that apparently Michael Olise's release clause is believed to be £60 million. However, it is a complicated mechanism and is not as straightforward as paying the fee and getting him. I don't really get that, because my understanding of a release clause is you pay the release clause and you get the player. So how can you have a £60 million release clause, but it's being described as a complicated release clause, and it's not as simple as paying the money and you get him? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, I don't get that. Obviously, David Ornstein was reliable as well, so I don't think he'd put that story out unless it was well sourced. But yeah, it doesn't really make much sense to me. Like, either there's a release clause or there isn't. Either you can pay the release clause and get the player, or you can't. I've never heard of a deal where there's a release clause, but you have to do certain things as well. Like, doesn't really add up to me, but yeah, we'll wait and see. In relation to some outgoings, we can confirm that apparently Johnny Evans and Tom Heaton will be leaving the club after their contracts expire on June the 1st. So obviously I wish Johnny Evans and Tom Heaton all the best. I think Johnny Evans, as I said, has completely exceeded our expectations this season. Obviously, is not good enough, in my opinion, for a team challenging for top four, but I think he's definitely, you know, I'm still happy that we had another season of Johnny Evans just for the nostalgia, you know, but in the grand scheme of things, obviously, he's not on the level of like a Saliba or a Martinez or a Varane or whoever, a top four or even a top six, top seven defender. So yeah, I wish them all the best. Hopefully they still manage to get some sort of, maybe they get a role, maybe he's going to become a coach or something. We'll wait and see. But they won't be playing for Man United next season, although Tom Heaton never really played anyway. It was mainly just as a kind of backup option, wasn't it? Right, moving over to Joshua Zirkzee, a player I really, really like. And the headline this evening coming out from various different outlets in Italy is that apparently Zirkzee has a release clause of £34 million, which will be available from this summer. I mean, £34 million, it's a hell of a lot of money, but in the context of football, it's really not very much, is it? Joshua Zirkzee has got 11 goals and 5 assists in the Serie A this season. Really good return. I mean, that's more than what Rasmus Højlund got, and we paid 70 million for Rasmus Højlund. I could see Joshua Zirkzee coming to Manchester United if Erik ten Hag stays as the manager. I could see Frimpong coming to Man United if Erik ten Hag stays as the manager. And before you know it, we'll have half the Dutch team at Man United. Like, we're obviously heavily linked to Frimpong. We've been linked to Joshua Zirkzee as well, who's obviously Dutch as well. Yeah, I think the manager decision has a massive part in where our recruiting will go. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that one. But let me know what you guys think. Would you like to see Joshua Zirkzee at Manchester United? 22 years of age, I believe he is. Had a really good season in the Serie A. He's got more goals and assists than what Rasmus Højlund got last season in the Serie A. So he's definitely a quality player. Can play as a centre forward. He's an out-and-out striker. He can't really do anything else, which is maybe a little bit frustrating. But I would love to see him at Man United. I really, really would. Obviously, Bayern Munich apparently have first refusal on him because they sold him to Bologna for really cheap. I think it was last season. But yeah, we'll wait and see what happens with that one. Let me know. Joshua Zirkzee to Manchester United. Would you like to see him come to the club? Let's see what people are saying in the chat this evening. Caesar says, would you bring a big signing, a mature leader, player to guide the youth? No. I think we should be looking at 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds, like low wages. We need to be signing players who are around the 20 mark, players who we're not going to overpay on salary or on transfer fee, and players that have a resale value. Because the problem we've had over the years is we buy older players, we pay ridiculous money to them, and then we're stuck with them. If we brought in someone like Joshua Zirkzee, say, for 34 million, right, and he does well the next couple of seasons, if then in a season or two we decide that we want someone else, you'd be able to sell him and get some money back. Whereas Casemiro, we bought him for 70 million 2 years ago. We're going to be lucky to probably get 30, 40 million for him. Varane, we bought him for 40 million 3 years ago. We're now having to release him for nothing. Anthony Martial has been at the club for like 4 years not playing because nobody wanted to pay his wages. Like, do you see where I'm going with this? We need to be a lot more careful on the players we sign. Younger players, lower wages, and players who will have a resale value if it doesn't work at Man United, because we've been stung by this so many times. So in short, I wouldn't sign like a blockbuster big signing. I mean, if it was a young player, maybe, but I think, paying like 100 million for someone like Neves from Benfica is a massive risk, because he's only, is he 18? Benfica Neves? He's 19 years of age. João Neves from Benfica, £100 million. Like, I just think it's risky. I think it's not really the kind of deals that INEOS are going to be looking to doing. I think we need to buy so many players that we're not at a stage. Robo says, Kieran, you had a good game last night. You should stay at Man United. Obviously, the running joke for anybody who doesn't know what he's talking about. Throughout the whole summer transfer window, everyone was saying I look like Amrabat. Someone was saying make sure you don't go to Manchester Airport because everyone will think that Amrabat's in the airport. Yeah. Maybe Amrabat will stay. What do you think? Let me know. Should Amrabat stay at Man United? Let's do a poll on that. I have got a poll running in the live chat now. And the question I asked you was, what's a realistic target for next season? I know we've still got 2 games left of this season, but I think this is a good time to start kind of looking forward, start getting a bit more excited for the future. And this is the results of the poll. If you're watching this back on repeat, let me know in the comment section, what is your expectation for next season? So the 4 different categories were win the Premier League, top 4, 5th or 6th, or 7th or 8th. Okay? So let me know in the comment section, where do you think Man United will finish next season? 11% of you think Man United will win the Premier League next season. I mean, fair play. 70% of you think we should be aiming for top 4 next season. I would agree with that. I'm in that position. 14% of you think 5th or 6th, and 5% of you think 7th or 8th. Yeah, I would agree. I know it's early to say, but I think, yeah, top 4 would be a realistic target for next year. I would be happy with top 4. That would be back in the Champions League. It would mean that we were developing. I think last year we overachieved, and finishing 3rd was a miracle when you actually think about it. And winning a trophy, the first one in 6 years. So I think, yeah, top 4 is the expectation. But let me know what you think. I'm going to set up a poll quickly. Everyone who's just joined in the last couple of seconds, please smash a like on the video. We've got over 200 people watching, which is amazing. So if you have just joined, please smash a like. Let's try and see 200 likes on today's video. And also subscribe. I've just dropped a link to subscribe in the live chat. So if you're watching this right now, make sure you subscribe. So let's do this. Would you keep Amrabat? Simple question. Obviously, if you're watching this back on repeat, you can let me know in the comment section. But for all of you who are watching this live, the question is simple. Would you keep Amrabat? It's really hard. That sounded a bit weird. Right. With Amrabat, I think these next 2 games are going to be the biggest indication on whether we should keep him or not. If he plays well against Brighton, we beat Brighton, and then he plays well against Man City and we beat Man City, then you can clearly see that a player like Amrabat is important for what we want to do. If everything unravels and we get battered by Brighton and then lose to Man City and he's in the team, then I think it will kind of mean that the writing's on the wall for him. But I have a good feeling about him. I think Amrabat has been good the last couple of games. I think he is the missing piece of the puzzle. I said this in the summer, that Amrabat coming in is the missing piece of the puzzle. I like Amrabat, Mainu and Bruno as a midfield 3. I don't think Casemiro can do it anymore. You got to remember, right? Casemiro's 5 years older than Amrabat. Casemiro's 32 and Amrabat's, I think, 27. So there's a big age gap between them. The release clause, if we want to sign him, is about 20 million euros. At the moment, I'm sitting on the fence, which I know is a little bit naughty of me. I'll say this, right? If he continues to be picked in the last couple of games, and I don't want to say if we win, because I think that's a little bit unfair, but if he continues to do well in the next 2 games, Amrabat, then I think there's a genuine case for keeping him. If in the next 2 games he doesn't do well, then I think, it's difficult to back him, because he's only really played well in a couple of games. Like a couple of other times when he came on, he was a little bit suspect. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm on the fence with Amrabat still. I don't want to be like, oh yeah, let's definitely sign him, because I've only really seen him play a couple of times. Right, let's move over to Youssouf Fofana from Monaco. So the headline this evening is that Man United are interested in Monaco midfielder Youssouf Fofana, 25 years of age. And the story goes on to say that apparently Manchester United have already made contact. Fofana would cost around £25 million this summer, and he is keen on joining Manchester United. So Fofana is a relatively similar style player to Amrabat. Plays in the same position, 25 years of age. Has had a good season so far for Monaco. Played 31 times. He's got 4 goals and 4 assists as a more of a kind of defensive-minded midfielder, which I think is pretty decent. He has been in the French team as well since 2022. He's got 1 year left of his contract, so he is going to leave Monaco this season. I don't know. I'll be honest with you guys. I haven't seen that much of Youssouf Fofana to be able to say 100% we should sign him. I think he's an interesting option from what I've seen of him, but yeah, I don't know. Paul says, is he fast? I mean, that's really, really important, actually. So thank you for bringing that in. I think what we need desperately is somebody pacey, because the problem with Casemiro is he's slow. The problem with Amrabat is he's slow. We really need like an engine in that midfield, someone really, really quick, someone who can control the midfield and effectively has the pace. From what I've seen of Fofana, I would say he's a little bit quicker than Amrabat. He's obviously quicker than Casemiro. Casemiro is incredibly slow, but he's not rapid. But then, I mean, arguably, is Rodri rapid? Not really. So, I don't know. He's faster than Casemiro and Amrabat, but he's not like absolutely rapid. If that helps your helps solve your answer. Big ups to Fred, by the way, who's just gifted 5 memberships to the Daily Red Devil Members Club. Anybody who got a membership, please make sure to say thank you to Fred. Absolute legend. Really, really appreciate the support, my friend, as always. If you want to join the members club, hit the $, get involved. And if you're not in a position to support in that way, make sure you subscribe. That doesn't cost you any money. So please make sure you do that. I think that is everything we had planned for the show. Yes. Oh, final story is about the players wanting answers. So the headline this evening is apparently Manchester United players are demanding answers from INEOS on whether Erik ten Hag will be the manager next season. So apparently Rashford's been asking, and Bruno is as well. They want to know what's going on next season. Players want to know whether they effectively need to look for a new club. They want to know whether they're part of the plans. And it's very difficult to say when you don't know who the new manager is going to be. And I agree with this. Like, the amount of videos we've talked on the last 6 months about the manager is getting quite tedious now. I really want to just start talking about next season and clearing up players and being positive. But it's quite hard sometimes because we're constantly talking about the manager. We're constantly talking about Graham Potter. We're constantly talking about Southgate. And it's quite frustrating, you know? So I don't blame the players at all, to be honest. I really, really do think that we need some clarity. I really do think that the players are within their right to have some clarity, to find out effectively what's going to happen next season. And the story even goes as far as saying that apparently the centre-back Tosin from Fulham, he's available as a free agent from June the 1st. Apparently he really wants to join Manchester United. But the thing that's putting him off is not knowing who the manager is. And apparently in the negotiations this week between the agent and the club, they're not able to confirm 100% who the manager is going to be, which is making him effectively cautious about joining. Newcastle are trying to sign him as well. And it's frustrating because we want to make sure we get our targets. We don't want players to be unsure about coming because they're worried about the manager. So we'll wait and see what happens with that one. But as it stands at the moment, we're all in limbo. We're all waiting to find out. But we only have 9 days until the FA Cup final. We'll 100% know after that. So we just have to wait for then. I'm going to wrap the video up here, though, guys. Thank you to everyone who's joined me on the show this evening. Please make sure to smash a like. Please make sure to smash a like before you go. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. This has been Daily Red Devil. I'll be back at 11 a.m. UK time tomorrow. Have a great evening, everyone, and I'll speak to you later.